That's pretty weird, right?
That's not creepy at all.
That's weird, right?
Yeah.
What's up, guys? Michael and Aaron. So I've been kind of racking my brain on this. So we've had all these like concepts, right? Occupy the space, anchor, dead weight, opposite directions, uncoiling around the center point, universal guard. Those are all important concepts and they're everywhere in combat martial arts, but it's hard to teach somebody, and we were just at a class the other day, it's hard to teach somebody and tell them what to focus on, right? If someone's thinking like, I gotta think of 20 techniques I gotta remember, and then now you gotta think about 10 other principles on top of techniques, and each of those principles have their own techniques.
Right.
Like what would be like a universal technique that governs over all those things? So I have one thing for you, and I've been talking about expansion and contraction a lot. And I feel like that's a big one. I don't know if there are other big ones, but that's one that I have in mind. So like if I were to show you like occupy space, right? We're shooting through or whatever, I'm trying to get into your bubble. And that's like, I can expand this way and then contracting. Mm-hmm. Opposite directions, this is expansion and then contraction, right? So there's posture control, expansion, contraction, right?
Yeah.
So it's like a universal principle that kind of governs over a lot of the smaller ones.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm in the middle of editing this clip. If you guys don't know, before Karate Breakdown, there was Karate Culture, and that was me and my buddy Aaron. We created that. We had a big empire that we were gonna build. We had a dojo that we opened up in San Antonio, Texas, and COVID happened and we kind of closed everything down. But we've kept in touch. We've always been friends. Him and I have spent many years training together. We know each other's tendencies, we know each other's minds, and I respect his opinion probably more than anyone else in the martial arts world, probably other than our sensei, just because he's like a literal killer. I just want to pick his brain on things that I've been talking about, so hopefully I'll get him in more videos in the future. We kind of joked about at the end, if you guys want to talk about seminars, hit us up. I think we both work very well together, and I do think we have a lot to offer to the karate world. So if you guys think about that, let us know. Hit me up, karatebreakdown@gmail.com, and then we'll set it up. So hope you guys enjoy this kind of impromptu Q&A. He didn't know the questions I was going to ask him, and of course, to Aaron's credit, he was able to give me a lot of things to chew on afterwards. So again, enjoy this and peace.
That's probably a good like umbrella term that kind of encompasses everything, because I mean it's just like goes back to the whole like human movement thing that we always kind of talked about. I mean that's even like on a molecular level, that's what's kind of going on, right? Expansion, contraction, right, and everything, right? If you can think of things in that way, you know, and for me I think what's also super important, I know we used to talk about it a lot, was just being comfortable with your own body mechanics. Right, because a gentleman I was training and stuff like that recently, it's like he has all the ability to do pretty much all the stuff, but you can tell mechanically he's not there, and it's not like it's his fault or anything. It's like he's never done it, so you're kind of like, you can tell right away, like you've never even had your arm like that.
Right?
You know?
It's like movement specific patterns specific to the sport that you're learning. Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like I would say I'm coordinated and athletic, but I suck at golf because it's a very specific movement that would take me hours to figure out. And that's the same with like karate or martial arts. Yes, it's universal movement. Yes, it's universal combat, but you still have to put in like the kata work and the solo training work to make that come out naturally.
Right. Yeah.
And that's even before you even put it onto a partner, another person, and have that force upon your structure as well.
Right. Yeah, that's like a huge thing, you know, and then that muscle memory thing is like super important, you know, and like even the music stuff. So I went on like some kind of rabbit hole of like looking at other stuff for like, you know, how to increase like finger speed on the fretboard and all this kind of business, you know, I like to kind of tie this all in. Like that guy was like, you know, he'd been a musician for decades, I guess, and he said he used to think that the whole muscle memory thing was not really that important. But then he said, like, you know, developing the muscle memory kind of lets you be anywhere.
Right.
right? So because that's kind of already in you. So if that's in you, then it allows you to kind of apply it to one degree or another wherever you may be, right? Even though you would probably not be really good at golf right away because of all like the movement patterns your body is like has been exposed to. You probably would be able to like adapt to it much easier than somebody who just did like one specific thing.
Right.
And then it was like, I'm gonna do this now. You know, the fact that, you know, it's been like karate, kickboxing, judo, you know, Muay Thai, jiu-jitsu, blah, blah, whatever.
So you're making a case for Ido Portal, right? The movement?
Oh, son of a God.
Touch butt in the park or something.
Yeah, no, yeah, I know that stuff.
Yeah, there's an argument for like the generalist versus specialist, right?
Right, yeah.
And then nowadays the new vernacular is like, yeah, you should be a good wrestler, but there's also wrestling for MMA. So they're saying like they're striking for MMA because it's there's jiu-jitsu for MMA. And we've been saying that all the time.
Yeah.
Like jiu-jitsu is a cool sport, but you don't want to be in some position where you're getting punched in the face. So now people are training jiu-jitsu for MMA, right? So there's this caveat to it now.
Yeah, which is really weird because you're like compartmentalizing every martial art into like a specific game. It's still not the same, you know, as like somebody who's trying to learn something combatively. You're just not, your head space isn't in the same place. You're not going around spending a week developing it into some kind of fervor.
Like I think about it, like if you're playing a video game by yourself in a room, right? And then like your significant other walks in and watches over your shoulder, how you play kind of changes, right?
Right, yeah.
So now you're fighting with somebody and now there's a ref in the ring watching you guys, and now there's cameras watching you guys too. That completely changes everything. You're going to have to filter out some things that are happening in your mind, like the viciousness of that you want to become.
Right.
Like, we went through that a lot when we started jiu-jitsu, right? Like, why don't I just like stop him in the groin or something, right?
Yeah.
Like, you have these visualizations that are happening mid-roll that you learn to squash down the more you play within the rule set of that game. But imagine just training just for that rule set. You're not even thinking of these rules or these visualizations at all.
Yeah, and you know, and that's always the debate, right, with jiu-jitsu. It's like, will it work on the street? And it's kind of like, well, it will and it won't. It like everything just depends, right? Like if you're lucky enough to like, you know, be in the place that isn't on the edge of a sidewalk and you land something really quick and you get up and there's nobody else to, you know, punch you in the face or stomp you while you're on the ground, hey, great, then it worked and you're a success, right?
Yeah.
But that doesn't always work out that way. So then like it goes back to the whole thing. Like I can remember being like in junior high and stuff. And if you fell on your back, you lost.
Right.
Like you already lost.
The dude's buddies are now.
That's it. Yeah, like you, like, cause the crowd around you was not a friendly crowd.
Yeah.
You know, it wasn't like it was fun and games. You didn't come out of that with like a smile on your face unless you were the guy on top. That's the one thing that really kind of detracts from that. You know, I don't know who the guy is because I just don't follow the jiu-jitsu guys, you know, at all anymore. But he was saying how like what's happened to BJJ, right? What's happening to it right now is what happened to karate, like in you know, in the 90s and early 2000s and stuff or whatever, where it kind of lost the stuff it was originally kind of intended for because of the gamification, you know, kind of stuff, you know?
Yeah.
And it's like, I get bummed out because it's like, you know, it's a bummer because as a dude who's in his, you know, in the middle of his life, it's like, I want to train, but I don't want to go to a gym and like, because the concern used to be like, oh man, if I don't tap fast enough to some dude who's putting freaking bow and arrow or whatever kind of lasso choke on me, then it's gonna hurt my neck. It's gonna suck.
Right.
Now the concern is like, I'm gonna go to some place and some guy's just gonna
cripple you.
Cripple my leg because I'm just like that's not what is in my head. My head is like top control, blah blah side, whatever. And this guy's just rolling and all of a sudden I gotta tell my employer, hey, I can't make it today because I can't walk straight because
Yeah.
I went in to go roll with a bunch of dudes who are just like that's what they do, you know.
I mean, there are pockets of people trying to bring back like the self-defense aspect of it, but they're kind of seen as it's like the boomer generation of jiu-jitsu now.
Right.
It's interesting to see the discussion online of people saying like, who cares about self-defense? It's now it's the game of jiu-jitsu, right? That's like karate too, you know.
Yeah.
So,
Which is super weird because like if you look at like the state of affairs,
right.
It's like, well, I don't know. It's kind of
Yeah.
it is like self-defense is still pretty relevant. I would say.
One thing I've said in the past was like, if karate guys don't want to learn any ground stuff or anything like that, at the very least, you should learn how to sprawl, defend a takedown.
Right.
What are your thoughts on that? Like, takedown defense versus
100%
fighting on the ground.
Like I wouldn't even say. I would say if you just like, because really all you need is to just not be able to just donate it on the ground, right? And that's easier said than done. But if you have like if you learn how to wrestle and learn how to not end up on your back, then that's really all you need, man. Because if you can punch and you can hit from like awkward positions, which is like, you know, learn how to use your hands and you go through stances and hip movements where, you know, it's not weird for you to have good connectivity from like a weird angle, you know, or what have you, then being able to defend the takedown and hit and strike quickly off of that. I mean, dude, like that's a powerful tool. That's really all you really need.
You know, when we had our channel and everything, I always felt like, it's not like I thought we were super special back then, because I was like, there's pockets of people around the world doing what we're doing. We're just putting ourselves online. And the more I see, and this kind of arrogant, I'm like we have a movement to us that is very specific, and we have like an ability that it's hard to translate through camera. And that's one of the things I want to mention too. Like I think the only good thing about like potential seminars is like you get to feel what we're trying to say. Like even if you're teaching somebody, they're not even really feeling what you're trying to teach them. So how can you imagine someone learning through a phone, right? Or a video to get like all the nuances of what we're talking about? I wish there was a world where like we can go around and like help people feel like what we're trying to say. Let me show you some stuff I've been messing with. So like don't let me enter your space. Okay. So I've been doing a lot of stuff like this, and since I did this all the time, so give me a little more pressure, right? So I'm like messing with your elbows coming in, and I'm also like turning your wrist this way, right? Doing that same thing that you were doing earlier, but it allows me to kind of weave myself through, and it's like this on camera. It just looks like we're pushing,
yeah.
But like I've done this to like Nick and them too, and it's like I can enter this space a lot easier if I do these small rotations, these coils, and then put my body weight behind it and start driving forward.
Right.
Versus trying to go like arm versus arm and all that stuff. But there's a lot of stuff like that, you know, that's like lost in translation through camera. It would be cool to have seminars of upper level like black belt instructors so that they could start passing that to their students. Because I was thinking like with seminars, you go and you try to learn like an interpretation of kata, or you do like all these pad drills or something.
Right.
That I guess instructors would take and go back to their dojo and be like, hey, I learned this cool partner drill, you know. But like helping someone take back the feeling of what that felt like that's
right. Yeah.
I don't even know if that's possible in one session, you know, but that's like a pipe dream.
Right. Like, yeah, you would have, and it would make like, because then that person runs into the same thing. Like even if you had somebody who was really adept at that, and they came to your seminar, and they were like, oh, I got it.
Right.
Like if they're there solo,
then
when they go back, they're like, okay, I need somebody else that I can.
Yeah, you need the right feedback.
Right.
To get that to recreate itself.
Yeah. So you need like groups of people that are into and can kind of like really feel that and understand that.
No, I always say in my videos like I'm not a dojo owner, and those people, like, kudos to you guys for like the unlimited patience to be able to like repeat the same thing over and over again.
I think the only other thing is like, you know, that The expansion and contraction thing makes a lot of sense for an overarching thing because that's the same thing as like a punch, a kick, you know.
Like if you do like a Russian tie, so if you grab behind my neck, I do this. This is like expansion, contraction,
right?
It's like it's everywhere.
Yeah,
I see it a lot, but yeah. Sorry, I cut you off.
No, that makes complete sense, right? It's a good way for people to like picture because. You know, like, even that like goes back to the whole thing of like using that as an example, right? Because people have a hard time with like imagination. I don't know, we didn't teach that in school very well. It's like we used to say like a block is a block, but it's also not a block, it's a strike. It's whatever I need it to be. Like this movement is whatever I need that movement to be in that space and time or whatever, right? But that's the same thing of expansion and contraction, right? You know, same thing with a punch. It's a punch unless I need it to not be a punch, and then it's something different.
Yeah, it's hard. Well, I'll throw one more thing at you. So, we're big advocates for that movement, kata as human movement. And then my whole thing is like the old Okinawans. The only thing I took from them and why we say like bring back old school karate is like. Their mindset was evolve or die, right? You take out what you don't need. The whole Bruce Lee Jeet Kune Do thing, right? Take out what you don't need, keep what you have, learn from everybody. And it's interesting because talking to karate people today, they would call that like, I coined it like a revisionist mindset, like a revisionist look at history. Like the karate guys, you're revisioning what they're thinking by saying, this actually was an arm drag, not like a thing. So then you can separate karate guys into like the historians that are like looking back. No, this is 1800s. I see this guy wrote this interpretation of kata. Right. And then there's like us who are like looked down upon as like, no, this isn't karate. This is Muay Thai or whatever. This is judo, right? And I coined it as like the revisionist thing. And then it's like historian, revisionist, or revolutionary, right? Because then you're like, well, yeah, they had historical stuff, but that's not going to work with the modern day MMA guy. So you guys have to understand that it's just movement and just cross-train and learn all this stuff and bring it back to your karate type thing.
Right.
So it's like, maybe the old Okinawans had that revolutionary mindset, and now the modern day karate guys are thinking they're historians. Right, they're misinterpreting what they were trying to do.
There's a lot of that. I feel like that's like a real Western mind kind of like mindset of stuff. There's like this need to like codify and standardize stuff.
Right.
You know, we're very uncomfortable with things being both that and also not that. You know, it's like things are, they are also not. Like there's the null, you know, that whole, because it's like not knowing makes people uncomfortable.
Right.
But
it's like the Western scientific method.
Yeah.
Like the whole thing, right?
And what's so funny about that is like real scientists will tell you that they don't really, for the most part, they don't really know, right? Like they have evidence to support ideas, you know, until they come with enough evidence. Yeah, that's an interesting, you know, revisionist concept. Yeah, absolutely.
Like other than this is Muay Thai, not karate, I get a lot of those. Like I get some stuff I laugh at. I wish I was telling Valerie, I wish I remember the thing because it was like I hope you're warmed up today because that was like a big stretch. Something like that. And I was like, I know I screenshotted it somewhere because it's hilarious.
Dude, like that's hilarious. Like I mean, because remember, like there used to be even like the guys who would be like, well, that's like pancreation, and stuff like all that, you know. And you're just like, dude, come on, man. Like there was because like the Muay Thai thing is really funny too, because then it's like you're like, okay, Muay Thai, well, there's Muay Boran, and then there's all that other stuff, and then you're like, well, what are all the names?
Right.
Well, all the names were based off of weaponry. Well, okay, well, they're all skills based off the use of weapons. Okay, well, I mean, that's the translocation of one skill and one idea being applied in a different way. Which, if you look at our revisionist thing, then that's essentially what.
Yeah.
I mean, you could say that is. I mean, even like the Indian martial arts, I can never remember.
That starts with a K.
It starts with a K. I can never remember it, and I don't want to butcher the name.
Yeah.
But it's like it was all based off of weapons too.
Yeah.
You know, and so and there's stuff like in kata and the Okinawan stuff that's based off of Budo also, right? Like,
Yeah.
I mean, so
Yeah.
it's that, but that's interesting, like the revisionist, because then it totally makes sense, right? Like, and we never asked anybody to throw anything away.
Everything just needs pressure testing, and then
Yeah,
the good stuff will stay.
Yeah.
The stuff that works will stay.
Yeah.
But you did make a good point. That's like the weaponry to unarmed thing. I can see that as like an analogy to teach somebody something, right? Because I always think about like if your hands up are on guard, your front arm's kind of like a shield, your back arm's like a spear or whatever.
100%, yeah.
But like, you could call that just an analogy, and somebody else would call that like, hey, you're reinventing what this should be. You know?
Right. Like our thing has always been like interpreting something so you can just apply it how you want to apply it.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
But there was never any time like we were just like, no, it is this, and that is like such a finality to things was never the idea, right? The idea was like, here's a bunch of concepts that we've seen over this where it's applicable and you can see it. Not like saying like, look at that guy doing Muay Thai, hot is karate. It's like, no, look how we can find it in both
parallel movements.
Parallel, yeah. If you're open-minded, you would then, in my opinion, you would then think like, well, damn, maybe there's things in other arts that I can use in my own art, right? That maybe I don't like, this side thing of like the karate thing that we do and the ideas behind its application, but I do like the two-hand idea, right? Of something always being done, whether it's pulling and pushing at the same time or rotating in opposite directions or whatever. And then it's like, well, how can you apply that concept or idea into your own art? Because maybe your own art, as it developed, didn't really have that or didn't focus on it, right? Because it wasn't focused, right? So, yeah.
All right, guys, seminars.
Yeah, let's go.
Thanks.